Hello, this is Nate Pinkston from Microsoft Retail Media to provide my presentation for getting your money's worth in retail media. I'm going to share my screen and get started here. Welcome. My name is Nate Pinkston, and I'm the head of growth for Microsoft Retail Media. I'm excited to talk to you today about getting your money's worth from retail media. Now, as you may have picked up from my title, I'm not directly connected with Walmart Connect, so nothing here is officially endorsed by them. But I'm going to be providing an overview of a lot of different recommendations and insights that we've found sitting across multiple retail media programs and providing our clients and advertisers with our recommendations and advice on how to be most successful as they go into investing in their retail media programs. So today I'm going to cover off on a handful of topics. I think to start with, we'll give you an overview of kind of how we think about retail media and what's been happening in the industry as a whole. An important point to be successful in retail media, and I think one thing that not everyone realizes or thinks about at least, is how retailers are really media partners in this instance. And thinking of them as retail media, but also media partners, is a really important aspect to help you be successful. And then ultimately, we'll dig into a number of tactics that can help make you successful in investing in retail media, and specifically hone in on some things for holiday 2023 that I think is going to be really interesting based on some research and data that we've been able to pull together. And lastly, we'll just touch on tracking innovation in retail media because it is such a fast-moving, changing landscape. So let's dig into this. And I hope most of you already know or think about a definition you have for retail media. It is something that is fairly new compared to a lot of other advertising like programmatic and search, but it's something that has very quickly become a big and major channel for a lot of advertisers. And many retailers have been rushing to create a retail media offering so that they can take part and offer their advertisers ways to engage directly with their consumers and really leverage their data. And that's a key thing you'll hear me mention throughout today, is how the data is really key to retail media and what that means. So while there's a number of definitions, and IAB recently released a buying guide that includes their own and a much longer one. Just to give some context for anyone who doesn't know, retail media is really about leveraging retail media's or retailers' audiences and their data to activate against consumer shopping journey. And so that may include offsite third-party websites, search, the open web, social and walled gardens, certainly on their own website and throughout that shopping experience, and then even in-store as more digital out-of-home and in-store activations become a part of the retail media landscape. But really, what does this mean for you? And what we see is this tremendous growth of retail media becoming a key part of how advertisers think about their budgets and the different spend that they make. And so projecting tremendous growth as we go into the next few years, retail media has seen a surge unlike really anything else since search. And so retail media, if it's not already part of your strategy and you're not already thinking heavily about what you need to do there, I think it is a really important place to get a strategy developed that can help you be successful. And that's one of the things that I want to hone in on for today. But why should you care as a retailer? And the true thing is that when someone is in a shopping mode, they're often going to the places they can transact first. And they're searching for things, whether that's around deals or comparison shopping, that gives you tremendous signals of intent that retail media is just set up to tap into. And so when you can leverage a retailer's data and think about whether it's leveraging previous shoppers or new to brand shoppers on their website, whether you're on the open internet and you're tapping into someone who's been on that retailer's website, searching for something already, you know these are people who are already in that shopping mindset. And that intent is a key signal that makes retail media a really important channel. And it's why we see retail media being such a successful part and strong investment for most advertisers who do sell through retailers. And so just bringing a little data wherever I can, it's something that we see advertisers more and more are going to be taking strong advantage of. And so 69% of advertisers are talking about investing in retail media because it delivers better results. And they really see that as key to helping drive their overall portfolio and knowing that they're going to get a lot out of that retail media spend. And so we'll talk a little bit more about what success should mean for you, because it's more than just return on ad spend, I think. But when we look at retail media, it really does provide a lot of benefit and value to the advertisers who are investing there. And so I mentioned holiday, and we're going to come back to this, but I do want to tap into a few insights that we have, because one of the things that I really like to highlight is, if someone is in market for something, and so going back to that intent piece, they're going to be bombarded with lots of different advertising during that shopping journey. And chances are they're going to be getting multiple competitive ads around certain products in that space. So specifically looking at holiday last year, we know that the average user was targeted by over 118 ads as they were making their shopping journey for the holidays. And 84% of shoppers saw multiple competitors' ads when they were looking to make a purchase. So that means if someone's in market, frankly, they're going to be seeing your competitors' ads. And so if you're not there, it really is a key thing to make sure you're retaining that share of market, share of voice. So to wrap things up, why should you care about retail media? It is about the data and the customers. You can access those customers where they're shopping, when they're shopping. And you can do that at that point of purchase. If someone is shopping for running shoes on a retailer's website, chances are they're going to be buying shoes in the near future. And so you really want to be there highlighting your products right during that core shopping moment and discovery and consideration moments. And because the retailer's that point of transaction has tremendous data sets, strong loyalty programs often, and great matching for things like loyalty programs in store, you can often get much more robust attribution and reporting around the results of your media and get that in real time. And so rather than needing to run lift studies, retail media provides a lot of real-time data that can really help you make informed decisions about where you're investing your advertising budgets. So as we switch gears, I really want to just hit this point a little bit because retail media is really driven by that retailer data, but retailers are not experienced media companies. So when you're thinking about being most successful in retail media, it's really important to think of the retailer as a media partner. They're not just a sales channel. And what do I mean by that? Well, a lot of advertisers and brands start investing in retail media because, frankly, they're required to in some fashion or other, whether that's co-op spend or some sort of shopper marketing budget. They really feel like they are required to invest in a retailer's retail media program. But that doesn't mean it can't work for you. And you can't leverage that in ways that really give you more insights and more scale and scope and power about how those advertising dollars are helping drive your business than if they were just spent in the silo. And so treating retailers as media partners, which means helping shape and set the expectations around what they need to do, and then holding them accountable for being good partners, are really two key ways that you can be more successful as an advertiser in the retail media space. And beyond that, because retail media is still emerging, and even look at Walmart Connect, this is not a media company that has been around for decades. They're a much more recent evolution of Walmart's media and buying business. They are still figuring out, what are the ways that they're going to operate and how are they going to interact with you as advertisers? And so I have some recommendations. When you're working with a retailer as a media partner, there's a number of ways that you can be more successful that can ultimately help you in the long run. And I think it's really important to approach your retailers as a partner and work with them. Now, we've talked about the data, and the data that retailers have is unique. They have tremendous data sets they've been sitting on and gathering for decades, and so they know a lot about shopping habits and can often tell you more insights about your shoppers and customers than you could get in any other fashion. So you think of Walmart's data set. I mean, they are the world's largest retailer. You want to be able to work with them to understand what are the best ways to connect with their customers. What are ways to get customers out on the open internet and bring them back to points of purchase like Walmart that can help develop new customer segments for you. And so help them, talk to them about what are the things that you know or that you're looking for or the things that you expect and need to have to invest more money into their media. And you can help shape how they grow and evolve over time. It's a new enough space that most programs and retailers are looking for ways to help satisfy advertiser needs. And so you can really take a part in helping to shape that and help drive what they become. And so really think about helping them and enabling them. And what that means is you have an opportunity to come and try new things out. Be a test or beta partner. There's all sorts of capabilities that are evolving and coming into retail media programs today. And if you can get out front and be one of those beta partners, you're going to earn some goodwill with the retailer. And you may very well get tremendous results that outperform other channels because as a test, they're not sure where it's going to land and how it's going to work. Now, of course, that may mean you put up with some operational struggles. It may have limited scale. But I think really becoming a beta partner to test new things is going to give you a leg up. And we've seen that with a number of our advertisers that constantly raise their hand to be a test partner. And they tend to get to take advantage of that newest and greatest feature or capability that are coming to the retail media programs. And lastly, as I mentioned, retail media programs are evolving and retailers are still working out how to manage and guide those programs. Look at the way that Walmart Connect has grown over the last 3 years. I mean, it has been tremendous, but that means they're still growing and evolving. And so if you really need them to do something, my pro tip for you is they're constantly looking for ways to grow their programs better and faster. So attach some incremental spend to what you need, whether that's access to a new data or audience set, whether it's data clean rooms or a capability and feature. Really think about tying incremental spend to what you need. And that's the way you're going to be most successful getting retailers to roll out new capabilities and features that match what you need to really invest more successfully. So I'm going to switch gears now and move us into what are some of those more tangible things that can help you really be successful as you're looking at any retail media program, but certainly for Walmart Connect. And where I want to start is you need to know how they're defining things. Retail media doesn't have a lot of the standardization that we've seen through programmatic and some of the more mature parts of the advertising landscape. And so truthfully, the number one place you can start to be successful is understanding what those metrics mean. Really, transparency is going to be where the industry starts. And as we think about ways the IAB has led transformations in other parts of the industry, it's going to come from advertisers insisting on understanding how those metrics are defined, and then ultimately driving standardization from there. But for now, I think the best to hope for is really start by understanding what they're showing you and what these metrics mean, because that's how you can make informed decisions around where you're going to put your advertising dollars. So that's probably my key number one thing you can do as we look at being successful in a retail media program. But specifically, there's a number of things that tend to differ across retail media programs that I think are really important for you to consider. So attribution windows by ad type vary a lot. And if you look at something like CTV, for instance, you're going to have a different consideration time than if you're on site in the purchase funnel about to purchase a consumable in the grocery space. And so understanding these attribution windows, are they the same by category, the same for all products? Is there multiple ways to look at it? Can you look at same session, same day, 7-day? Can you slice and dice the data differently? Those attribution windows are going to be really important because you want to understand what is right for your product set and in the category you are operating in or categories. And really understanding what they're showing you is going to be key to knowing how to invest there. Secondly, one of the things we find in a lot of retail media programs is they're bringing in sales data from multiple different sources because they've got a digital presence and they've got the in-store presence. and they may have advertising channels that they're sponsoring for you from multiple different directions, a lot of times what you're looking at is attribution that is modeled in some way. And so if you look at ROAS, understand what components go into that. Is there cash components that are being brought into that ROAS that they're not tracing back to a specific identified user? How are they identifying users? Is there a loyalty card that links back those digital impressions to those in-store purchases? These are the types of things to understand, because that'll really give you a sense, are you getting the full picture? And are you getting some things that are a little bit less certain than true deterministic sales data? And that really leads me to this incrementality question. Truthfully, you're going to be investing in multiple channels. You're going to be spending your advertising dollars across a lot of different areas, and understanding what's driving those sales and truly incremental growth is a really important question. And sadly, I don't think in the digital space, we've gotten to a place that we're doing a great job at honing in and defining incrementality in a standardized way. And so understanding when a retail media program talks about incrementality, or how they talk about their sales and what attribution they're doing, what does incrementality mean for you? And how is that something that you can optimize towards? Because really that's a metric that's going to be important for your overall sales. And we all love to report on really high ROAS, but we should be looking at what are the things that are driving brands forward really in a true and holistic way that thinks about all of your sales, and certainly double counting things because there's multiple attribution channels, doing last click or doing impression based, but not giving credit to the other channels. It's important to understand what's what and how that incrementality is defined for you. And then a new one, which I'm really excited to see more and more growth in the industry around, is new to brand. Because growing your customer base and getting those new customers is fantastic. That's a huge, huge win when you really can tap into those customers who are in those high intent shopping moments. But understanding what that means, is this really just a lapsed customer? What is your buying cycle? And does that align with the time frames that are being defined for new to brand? Understanding these pieces are really important, because you may find that this is a repeat customer who's just being defined as a new to brand customer, or it may be a periodic customer that's just coming back. And, is that new to you, or is that an incremental, is that really an incremental customer or not? So that's something important. And then one last one that we like to talk about a lot is hours live. And we think about this as the time shown or eligible to be shown on a website. And really this is specific to the on-site programs. But as we go into holiday, I'll talk a lot more about accessing shoppers when they're in the discovery and consideration set. And so you want to think about how often are your campaigns showing, and during what periods of the day are they available to show. So beyond even day parting, think about how much your budget is allowing you to show during those peak shopping moments, and think about optimizing towards that and using tools like day parting to help shape and frame when you want to be targeting users the most. So I talked about a lot of different things here, and they did touch on ROAS quite a bit, but I mentioned earlier, and I want to come back to why ROAS may not be the only metric that you want to think about. And so this is a graphic from the Mars agency. And what I really like about thinking about your retail media program in these layered ways is conversion is only one view of what your advertising is doing. And so while ROAS and sales are really important, and that's really what we're optimizing for in the long term, because we don't have perfect multi-touch attribution, because of those attribution windows and the incrementality, I think it's really important when you're getting a holistic view of your retail media spend to look at different layers, and ideally do this for all of your campaigns, and then bring that together and help make sure all of your campaigns are also looking at the ways that they're amplifying and optimizing across these different channels. And so, from an awareness perspective, it may be really important to look at the impressions you're getting and how many of those are true impressions. Are you getting any sense for foot traffic or coupons? Is there something in store that you're getting a lot of exposure, and really that's driving a lot of that engagement? Or maybe you're even seeing a drop off from cart ads to actual conversions. Or is that cart really a shopping list they're going in store and just using as a way to tick off the items they need to put in their cart in person? These are all things that are important to understand. And so I think looking as holistically as possible at all the metrics available and think about, are there other metrics that are going to help you make informed choices, is really important as you look at retail media programs. And I'm not going to spend too much time on data clean rooms, but it is a rising trend. And so a few tips that I really just want to offer up for folks, because it is a big investment to think about having a data science team that can help analyze and really make the most use of data clean rooms. So a few things to consider on whether data clean rooms are right for you. You've got to have good data too. If you're not bringing in your own set of deep granular data to join with the retailers, then you're really just looking at more granular aspects of the retailer's data. And that's okay. I mean, that may be what you want to do with that. And having some data from Amazon a few years ago, the vast majority of users for Amazon clean rooms are doing just that. So maybe that's enough and makes it worth it for you. But one thing to consider is if you're really just getting more granular reporting, you may want to think about other ways you can get to that same information and those same inputs. And so really understanding what you're going to get out of it and what decisions you're going to make with those insights, I think is going to help guide your case. And ultimately, going back to my earlier point, if you can commit extra spend, that's a great way to get access to a data clean room and help showcase that it's something that is going to help drive your business. So shifting gears to something I touched on a little bit earlier is retail media is broad and there's a lot going on. And so what I want to talk about for a couple of minutes is why having multiple campaign ad types and thinking about these campaigns layering together and ultimately amplifying each other is a really important aspect of a successful retail media strategy. Because running a single type of campaign and looking at it in a silo is really not going to give you that whole picture of that consumer or their shopping journey. And so as we look a little bit deeper around what ads people see and how that changes their time to conversion, what we see is, this isn't probably shocking data to anyone, but conversion times for CTV and OTT, really, those are much longer. Those are a different part of the shopping journey. And so we see those conversion times taking a lot longer. But when it comes to sponsored product ads, and really I think a lot about those search tiles, shopping ads, those are people that are right in the moment. And frankly, most of them are really converting in that same session. And so when we look at folks who are clicking on your shopping ads, and whether that's on-site or off-site, frankly, the data is telling us that the vast majority of those people are buying a product in that category that same day. And so again, going back to those attribution windows, does a 14 or 30-day or 28-day attribution window make sense? I mean, it can. There's certainly some conversions that are happening later on. But really, if we're thinking about that holistic journey, you may want to think about those longer-term ad formats like video, CTV, display, and awareness campaigns as helping to lead an awareness that's going to happen, conversion further down the line. And you're really thinking about lower funnel tactics like those sponsored product ads and search and browse campaigns. Those are going to be for those same day, same session conversions. And so look at your retail media strategy. Leverage media types across every stage and think about what your goals are and what you can do to help engage them across these different stages. So I talked a little bit earlier about you may have to use a certain amount of your co-op budget to invest in retail media and hit certain spend thresholds based on your JBPs or the agreements with the merchants. Well, that's fine. But think about that spend and those campaigns you're running with that budget and layer in with them other ways to be successful with your offsite campaigns, with certain lookalike campaigns. Can you tap into social and spend elsewhere and really amplify those things together? Because what we see is if you look at and measure your campaigns together, you're going to have a better view of the customer, but you're going to see much more impactful results by doing these things in a coordinated fashion. And so very specifically, we have a number of case studies around the way that multiple campaigns running together to take advantage of multiple strategies really drive much more impactful results. And so if you're running display campaigns with those product listing ads, your likelihood of conversion to your product is nearly 15 times what it would be just running a search campaign on its own. If you look at running that full funnel, multiple types of display banners across that journey, you're going to see the CTR for your ads increase by 34%. And that means people are going to be thinking about your product and clicking into it much more frequently. And ultimately, this is all going to lead to higher ROAS. So if you're looking at banners at category levels, think the top of those search pages, top of those browse pages for your categories, your brands are going to get many more clicks and ultimately conversions as folks go through that shopping journey. And so it's really important to think about a full funnel strategy for how you can engage with those consumers. And so it's a message that I could probably, belabor many times over. But if you, again, audience campaigns, display campaigns layered with your search and shopping campaigns, you can see dramatic increases by amplifying those things together against a single campaign looked at in a silo. And so really this is about how do you combine the efforts of multiple campaigns and budgets to really drive the most results, getting a holistic picture of your consumer and their shopping journey, but really about also making sure these campaigns are leveraging the same messages and the same strategy that's going to drive much better results for you. And so this is an example here where we're thinking about offsite and display ads running with search and shopping ads versus just a simple search campaign. And immediately you're seeing how impactful it is to do that full funnel approach and have a strategy that drives that. And the last one here is CTV, which is one of our hot growing spaces in general. But as we think about it from a retail media perspective, the targeting that you can do and how you can tap into your audiences when they're in that search or even discovery mode is really impactful. And so you can drive more searches and ultimately more conversions by connecting your CTV strategy and spend directly to your retail media campaigns across every stage of that funnel. So before I shift gears into holiday, I want to expose a couple other things just around the trends that we're seeing in shoppers as well that might help lead you to a few different choices. And so here at Microsoft, we are uniquely positioned to understand what people are doing during their workday. Frankly, a lot of us probably are using, a lot of the Microsoft tools to look at different things during their workday. And so one of the things that we're seeing is people are doing a lot of personal shopping now during the workday. I'm sure this comes as no surprise, but we can actually provide some numbers to say that 2/3 of people, I think it's actually 65%, are now spending more time on their computer, their work device, than they did pre-COVID. Think about it. We're working from home. You're sitting around on the couch. That workday doesn't have the same kind of constraints it used to. And so you're on your work device a lot more than you used to be. And what you're doing with it is you're doing a lot more shopping throughout the day and even on that same device throughout the evening. And so we see those conversion rates on a work computer driving a lot more conversions than people on their mobile device. In general, we've known for a long time mobile doesn't convert as well, but there's ways to engage desktop users later in the day or even earlier in the day, really at all times, because we see their ability to shop and do personal tasks throughout the day is dramatically increased. Additionally, cross-device, that's also a thing that's here to stay. And so as we look at different demographics and segments, we see that almost everybody's on multiple devices throughout the day. If you're anything like me, I've got my laptop here, my cell phone's here next to me, and I might be checking either during any moment of the day. And then after the workday's over, I'm one of those people who's sitting in front of the TV. I've got my laptop and my phone, and I'm watching TV. I'm a cord cutter, and so that means everything is OTT for me. And so those CTV ads, those are things that I'm getting exposure to, but I may be on multiple devices anyway. And so this is something that we really need to think about as marketers and strategists in the advertising world. What are the ways that we're going to engage with people who are multi-device? And it's something that is really going to be a part of our future. And it is really just a fact of the way people are going to operate going forward. And so as we look at what a full funnel strategy looks like and ways you can leverage that retail media data is tapping into users throughout this entire journey and really taking advantage of where they're shopping, when they're shopping. Think about different tactics to engage them throughout all of those shopping moments to drive the most effective engagement for your brand. And the reason retail media is so powerful here is because you can work in partnership with that retailer and leveraging their data to target and engage those consumers in so many ways throughout this journey, but really having those insights and leveraging that data set to make the most of your marketing budgets. So you might say, that's all great. I kind of feel like it's intuitive, lovely to see numbers, but what I can do now is actually give you some really tangible and concrete ways to get the most out of retail media coming into this holiday season. And so what I've done is compiled a number of resources, including internal Microsoft research and data, to really look at how retail is going to be driven in this holiday season. And so what you need to think about is it's going to be, I think, a little bit of a different year. We've been looking at inflation, economic climate. We need to think about what are the ways to engage with users and how are they shopping in this retail season as we go into holiday. And so we've got a lot of survey data that I'm going to expose to you and share around how people are going to be shopping and what we're seeing from trends across the open internet, our own search resources and data sets, and really try to bring some of this to the fore. And what you can see is, depending on your category, the average user is going to be shopping online far more than just in store. And I think that's a shift that we've seen over the last few years. But to characterize it for even things like pet care was a surprising one to me, and gift cards, and, you know, as we're looking at even like household items that you may want to sort of physically look at, more and more we're seeing this driven by online sales. And the online purchase that then picks up in store so you can get those physical goods without shipping is another thing that we've just tacked on to user behavior and increased how people are shopping online, which makes them engageable in that digital context. So think about how you can engage with your users and your target customers when they're online in so many ways, back to that huge, long conversion funnel. What are the things you can do to engage with them early, depending on your category? And so if we look at where shopping is happening, conversions, no shocker here, right? Black Friday, Cyber Monday, people are buying then. But what we actually see is the searching, the consideration, the discovery people are doing picks up much earlier, back into October. And so that baseline trend is reasonably flat in September with a couple spikes, but in October it really starts to come up. And so the average time to convert is actually much longer in this holiday period. My wife and I already have a list of things we want to buy on Black Friday, and we're starting to do that consideration and search. And we're going to plan to make these purchases around Black Friday, Cyber Monday, but we're searching early, we're doing that consideration early. So if you want to tap me as a consumer, now is a great time to engage me. And so that's something that we're seeing borne out even in our click and conversion data. So if you look at where we can trace the original click and conversion to, while I might normally have said, or I did 5 minutes ago, that most clicks lead to a conversion in a couple hours and certainly that same day, retail holiday is a little bit different. And so we're able to track a lot of the clicks back to a month prior or even 2 months prior in some cases that show us that people are doing discovery and consideration way earlier in their process. They're doing that research and they're trying to decide what products they want to buy. So now is the time to start thinking about how are you going to engage those shoppers around Black Friday and get your message front and center. And so what does that mean on average? The audiences that are shopping, if they see an ad, they're likely to click around 7 days later and convert even 45 days later. And so what you want to do is you want to be getting your display ads out there. You want to get your broader awareness tactics out in market as early as possible, because that, you know, awareness, upper funnel support, that's the type of thing that if you invest now, you're going to see it pay off in holiday. A lot of these numbers are telling you the same story, but from multiple data points, and this is the same thing here. 33% of November conversions were, 67% of November conversions were tracked back to a click in October. Only a third of that was happening in the same month. And for December, that goes back the same way. So people are really doing their holiday shopping and buying in those moments in November and December, but they're doing the research, they're doing the discovery and consideration much earlier for the holiday season. So think about these numbers. Think about what are the trends that you want to capitalize on. So here's a handful of other data points we've been able to pull together. I mentioned buy online, pick up in store. That's been trending up for a while. Free shipping as a hook, as a way to get people in. That's really important, and that's been growing about 21%. Free returns, and think of the ease of returns for those digitally purchased conversions. If you're buying it online, you haven't physically held it, the return policy may be a big decider in how you can pick that up and return it. And so these next two here, about 30% each, are really important. And then ultimately, people in this inflation-driven environment are going to be looking for things around what's free, what are ways to capitalize on this. So just touching on price a little more, we did have some surveys that went out to consumers, and we can tell you that, people this year are going to pay more attention to price. This isn't surprising, I'm sure, but looking at the data here, we're talking about 80% of folks are going to be paying a lot more attention to price this holiday season than before. And so looking for ways to tap into that savings mindset, perhaps it's a coupon set or a deal, a rebate, whatever it is, you may want to think about, is that something to incorporate into your holiday strategy for this holiday? And getting those things in place now is really important. And so tapping into how they may be thinking about that, what are we seeing from a year-over-year search volume around the holidays? We're seeing sale, obviously very important, but kind of always is, so it's not as high as I might think, but promotions, deals, discounts, rebates, all way up. And this is something that, I think is going to drive a lot of purchase behavior this holiday season. And with some of the trends earlier this year, that may be something that is really important to think about. So just looking a couple more slides on how we think about this, and the data that we're seeing is which categories are we expecting more growth in this year? I think the savings that people have, they're investing that in apparel. That we're going to see an uptake. Toys and games a little bit higher. Pet items, though, is one that really jumped out to me, that people are doing a lot more gifting for pets. Otherwise, we do see a little bit of a downturn in home furnishings and some steady trends. Gift cards tend to be the last minute procrastinator's choice. That looks to be about the same. Large electronics, we're not seeing a huge move there, which is almost surprising in and of itself. And so lastly, I'll just share a little bit more data on those daily conversion rates and what we see throughout the month of November and December. And so, it is going to be something where, despite all those searches and all of that search volume consideration on the retailer's website, it's a great time to think about remarketing, retargeting tactics for the month of November, because people are converting throughout most of December. And so we're going to see those spikes right around Black Friday and Cyber Monday, and the next couple of weeks in December maintain a really high conversion rate over average. So just something to think about from the timing of the campaigns you're building for this holiday season. I think there's a lot of this that probably is intuitive, but backing it up with some numbers to say, yeah, we should really get out there early. Think about full funnel strategies that are to engage people across their entire shopping journey. And ultimately, what are the ways that you can engage consumers in what they want to see, which this year is going to be really savings driven. So that's my holiday tips for you. And before I wrap up, I want to spend a few minutes just talking about, what are some of the emerging trends in retail media? And so as we look ahead, it is a space that's evolving. It is a space that is changing and growing so much. And so some of the things that we think about that are really going to drive and motivate the industry into the future is, what are the ways that we see new technology, and being from Microsoft, got to talk about AI, that we see things like AI influencing the landscape. So I think what we're going to see in general is there is going to be more of a move towards transparency in the near future. And as I think about our engagement with places like the IAB, that is something that is being pushed for. So I would expect to see more and more transparency in the next couple of years, which will be a precursor to any moves to standardization. And really, standardization is something that's going to be driven by you, the advertisers. As you look at what different programs have to offer, it's going to come from an advertiser demand that they need to see, standardized ways of attribution, standardized ways of defining metrics. And that's going to be advertiser driven. And so as an advertiser, think about ways that you can send that message to the retailers like Walmart Connect that you deal with and say, these are the ways that we are looking to invest and need to understand the consumer and the shopper journey. The data set that the retailer has, and Walmart Connect is probably one of the best out there. There's so many insights there. So it's really about helping to define and shape what are those metrics, how are they defined, and what are they going to be used to help determine in terms of insights and ways you make decisions. But there are a few exciting things that I'll say on the technology front, and particularly I'm going to spend a couple minutes just touching on AI, that I think we can expect to see in the next few years. And so there's a lot of opportunity where AI is being brought into the retail media space. And we would expect to see, and are already starting to see, we're doing some of this around creative generation. So image generation for shopping ads. Think of the ability for AI to create across all your ad formats, across all your sizes, images in very quick automated fashion succession. Now, it's got to be trained, and maybe you're not ready to jump feet first into it right away. But think of your ability to create so many things in rapid order, and you may still need to leverage creative agencies to help have a starting point, but AI is going to get better all the time, and those images are going to be a great way to leverage what AI can do for you and make it much easier to get involved in display campaigns and video campaigns. Just think of the burden right now to create a huge library of creative assets that AI can help take that burden off of you. We see digital shopping becoming more and more of a trend, particularly around holiday. Again, huge uptick in people looking for recipes. And think of typing those types of things into a digital shopping assistant. What do I need to make, a fantastic stuffing for my turkey side? These are things where that can be an ad that can serve with all of your products or your branded products in those results. So really thinking about ways to leverage digital shopping and be a part of that network is, I think, a great opportunity to beta test and get out early. Because throughout the shopping and search journey, there's just so much opportunity to have chat and digital assistants and AI really take advantage of people's interest in doing things with AI. And as an advertiser, the burdens of setting up and managing campaigns are so high that really we think about ways to have AI help support and drive insights, conclusions, and even optimize campaigns. That's going to be something that's coming. And so helping to relieve the burden that I know, for instance, a lot of agency folks, ad operations people across the industry struggle with bringing a lot of that together so that you can help have the AI set those rules for you, do a lot of that hands-on keyboard work, or make things easier with one click. We see a lot of that coming. And so the future does look like AI injected across all of our ways we engage with users. And so whether that's text assets or typing in conversational things to create an image, or again, tweaking even images that you have for certain seasons and making them applicable to different campaigns, there's a lot that AI is going to be able to do for you. And then bridging different campaigns and campaign types. Again, that shopper assistant doing comparisons and shopping, looking for coupons. These are all things we expect to see in the AI-driven retail media landscape. So I'm going to close out here and just leave you with a couple thoughts. Retail media is an evolving space that has so much opportunity, and really there's a ton you can leverage with the retailers as your media partners. Their data is unparalleled. They have consumers across all types of categories who search there so frequently, especially when I think of users of places like Walmart. Those shoppers are loyal and regular Walmart shoppers. And so understanding what they can tell you from their data is so critical. but you want to have that transparency. You want to understand how they're defining things and help shape that. And ultimately look for opportunities to be a beta partner, test things out, take advantage of the new technology as it emerges. But then looking at, what are those definitions? I mentioned the attribution windows, modeled ROAS, new to brand. These are things that you can understand how they're going to affect your strategy if you know what the definitions are, know how those are changing, and even help push and shape those to your retailers and to the folks at Walmart. And then ultimately, if you can bring campaigns together, measure them together, and think about ways that they amplify each other, you're going to see much more success. You can help tap into that entire consumer shopping journey, get them at multiple points with different tactics and different ad types. And that's really going to be the way that you're going to be most successful. That's the way you're going to maintain and grow your share. That's the way you're going to interact with shoppers, the way that they are shopping. And just to close it out for holiday, there's a lot of opportunity for customer acquisition. I just think about things like new to brand, for instance. There's going to be people who are shopping for things that they never have before because they want to accommodate the guests that are coming over for dinner on Thanksgiving or for different holiday parties. They may want to get products in the grocery space they've never tried before. Where are they going to go? Well, they're going to search for different things. They're going to look for recommendations online. And so these are opportunities to capitalize and get in there. And then gifting is just a tremendous opportunity to target all kinds of new consumers that might not be in your core demographic and other times of the year. I can tell you that not every person who purchases an Xbox this holiday season is going to be a gamer. And we know that, and we're using that as a way to try and target the right consumers across a broad spectrum of different places who are in that shopping mentality, doing discovery, doing consideration, and ultimately tap into the shopping behaviors that we see. So I want to thank you for your time today. Appreciate everything that you took the time to listen through, and hope it was interesting, insightful, and offered you a few ways that you can help guide your retail media strategy as you go forward. Thanks so much.